day number 2, or a couple days after from me initially taking everything apart. I had to go order some parts. I did also take the timing cover back, cleaned it, changed the seals on the front, the crankshaft seal, and then there's also another seal on the back that has grooves inside of the timing cover where it sits and seals that portion where the VTC solenoid sits. So now with this part of the video, we're near the end now, we're going to be essentially putting back everything together. But we started off by cleaning the surface on the block and where the timing cover is going to meet together. So make sure there's a good clean surfaces on both ends so that they seal properly and we got no oil leaks. The other thing is, I do recommend, like I mentioned before, or I don't know if I did, but we do have to change the oil, just because when we did clean the surfaces, most of the big pieces we did get them, but all the little, when you're grabbing the sanding paper and sanding the block, there will be small pieces that will fall in, and I do recommend changing the oil. And just the other thing is, make sure you break some parts cleaner or brake clean and spray the edges where you sanded down everything, and also in the middle, to get any debris or anything out of the way. Hence why I also recommend to change the oil, because you don't want that filtering throughout the whole engine. And the other thing I was showing you is that drag cartel timing bracket, and essentially what that does is just, it's there as a safety device, so in case, you know, the tensioner gave out in it again, or say it started skipping numerous teeth, that chain will not slip off the crankshaft, because if it does slip off the crankshaft, that's when you have major internal damage, causing to bend valves and damaging the piston. So I put that down there, so essentially it keeps the timing chain always on the crankshaft, so it doesn't fall off and cause more damage. So as you can see, it's time to slap the new chain on, and I had already moved the phasers in the same direction or the same spot that they're supposed to be in. I'll show it to you later on, but basically now what you're going to do is you're going to take the timing chain, and then you'll find 2 silver or kind of a darker shade of color, gray or silver depending on what it is, on the chain, and then basically those 2 ends will have to line up on the markings that's on the phasers, and then one is going to be on the bottom as well. So the other thing is that you want to make sure is always you're going to start from the crankshaft, so run the chain from the crankshaft first, line that up first, and then the second one is going to be the phaser, which is towards the right for the RBC, and then all your slack, you want it to be all the way in the back, so when we put the tensioner up, then that's going to cut all the slack. So you'll see here that I'm kind of timing everything and make sure everything's correct, moving the phasers in the same direction or that they have to be at, and the way you do that is you'll have a wrench there on the actual camshaft. It's a 24 that you'll put there, and that will be able to give you enough leverage to move the cams in whichever direction or whichever spot that they have to be. now I had brought the guide that's on the back. I installed that, and I also had put in the tensioner in the bottom. It's two 10mm bolts, and there will be a little safety pin there. Don't pull that until you spin the crankshaft a couple times to make sure everything's timed and everything lines up properly. Then you'll pull that tensioner so it puts the it puts the tension on the guide and holds everything firm together. And now I put the other guide, the one in the front, so then it holds everything kind of in together. And then the next step is that we're going to be rotating the crankshaft for resolutions. And how you can tell is there'll be a mark on the crankshaft, a little arrow, and then another arrow or a line on the block itself. And you'll spin that 4 times, and then the 4th, when it goes back to the arrow meets the line on the crankshaft, you're going to go up, look at the phasers, make sure those phasers markings line up with the markings on the head itself. There's also going to be a mark there, and then once that's done, you're good to go. So now I made sure everything's good. As you can see, there's one arrow on the RBC phaser, and that one lines up with the arrow that's on the head or the caps. And then you'll see in the middle, there are also one on the exhaust and one on the RBC that has to be aligned together. And then the back one will just be kind of towards in the back. And then the crankshaft, once you get some light in there, you'll see that there's an arrow or a line on the block. And then the sprocket on the camshaft has another arrow or line that lines up together, and that's the bracket I was telling you about. You can see that it sits right there. So now once that's done, the only other thing I wanted to mention was once you line up the markings on the timing chain and you get everything kind of in the same spots of where they're supposed to go, and you do the 4 resolutions, don't be afraid or don't freak out that the chain markings are not going to line up on the phaser markings. It's just there to simply make sure that everything is lined up perfectly, and then after you do the 4 resolution, as long as those markings on the phasers and the crankshaft line up with the ones that's on the head and then the block by the crankshaft, if those line up, you're good. That's all you need to worry about. And I don't know why, but I've done 2 other SIs, and one SI that I did, the timing chain marks line up perfectly and on the phasers, and then another one that I did, the timing marks don't line up on the phaser after the second revolution with the engine. And then this is the third one that I did, and the same thing, it doesn't line up. So it's weird, I don't know why. But basically I slapped everything back together, put new gaskets, new spark plugs, we put some silicone on the timing cover, all the mounts, the tensioner, that got all put back there. And now we put the fresh oil, and then this is going to be the first initial startup, and then once it lets it warm up a little bit, you'll hear me rev it up a couple of times. Obviously not too high, just because, you know, we just did the timing on it, but that noise was completely gone. And the other thing that the problem was with this car is that it had a rough idle. So originally I thought it had something to do with the O2 sensors, because I would monitor it on the scanner and the live data's reading would jump up and down, and me completely forgetting that it could also be a timing related issue, because the phaser was off and not aligned properly and skipped a couple teeth. It had caused that rough idle. So as you can tell, my homie was pretty amped because it made such a big difference, and initial startup, that noise was gone, and immediately you could feel or tell the difference with the way it was idling. And you can see there was some smoke there, but that was just, I just wanted to make sure that there was no leaks or pissing off from the gasket, but that's just some residue oil. He thought that, you know, there was oil pissing out, scared me, so I ended up shutting off the engine, and then it just ended up being some residue oil when we, I guess, must have got onto the exhaust. So don't worry about that. Started it back up, and then basically all that was left was to put back that bracket that sits on top of the valve cover, and all the plastic trims. And the other thing is, don't forget to top off the coolant, because when we took that pipe off, all that coolant went out. Luckily, just before we went to take it for a long drive to make sure everything's good, we did notice it and caught it. I completely forgot. So you make sure you do top off the coolant until it reaches the right level, and you want to wait until the fans kick in, so you know that all the coolant went in, or that it's at operating temperature. So what I was doing here is I ended up shutting off the engine because it scared me, or I just felt that the engine was not idling properly. And I was going over the coil packs, and then I realized two of them were loose, because one of them, the bolt was stuck on the cover for the coil packs, and then there was another one that the bolt was loose. So I tightened those two, and then we just started the car back up, and again, just kind of go over everything, make sure you know all the sensors, all the hoses was plugged in, and then we wait until it got to operating temperature, and then you'll hear me rev it a couple of times to demonstrate that the noise was completely gone. And then that she was good to go.
goes right in the mouth.
That's how we do it, boys. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next video.